Is Joe Biden fit to be president? Well, welcome to Mark and Pete. Welcome along. Here is a thought.
Woolly-minded. If you try to pull the wool over someone's head, but you become taciturn or tongue-tied instead, where folk cannot unravel what you've said, you've probably lost your mental thread. Well, it seems that Joe Biden has had a bad debate in the head-to-head political performance against Donald Trump. In fact, this has prompted much panic, confusion, and even sadness amongst the Democratic Party. Should Joe Biden now consider his position as president? Clergyman Pete, I ask you, do you think he's really fit to continue?
Well, I think that you've asked the crucial question there, Mark. I mean, unusual for you to ask a good question, but I think that's a good question. Yeah,
Always a first.
Is he fit to continue now, right now? I mean, he did perform very badly in that debate. Well, it depends how you look at it. It was quite entertaining in a way. Got some good zingers from Trump in response to his rambling. But what he was exhibited there was a lack of focus, mental agility, understanding of issues. And more than that, it was just a classic example, it seemed to me, and not just to me, but many people have commented, of dementia, which we've seen developing from his public appearances over the years. So the question then that you asked is, well, is he fit to continue? Is he fit to continue as president, not just as the candidate? I mean, he's not actually the nominee for the Democrat Party officially until they've had their convention. So there's been some talk of him being removed. But if you're going to remove him as the candidate because you don't think he should be president, doesn't that mean that he's not fit to be president now, not just in the future? I mean, it's not a question of saying we don't think he can win. Well, there is that side of it, but the reason for thinking that he don't think he can win is that he's not mentally competent, so he shouldn't be president. And that would mean that if you had around Joe Biden, the members of his cabinet, the people who hold executive office, and the vice president together, they can write a letter to Congress, and if they do that, saying that they don't think he's fit to be in office, he's immediately removed. That can be done.
Well, it did seem that Joe Biden struggled, and he struggled on a number of fronts. When it came to his debating, he seemed okay, but when it came to his own public narrative, he tried to sort of communicate things about the health service and many other things, but lost his train of thought.
Yes.
Now, this can happen at any point. Sometimes people lose their thread a little bit, or maybe don't always get across the point. But here's the key issue. It just seems as though he didn't know where he was. He didn't seem to be as mentally aware of what the subject was. And I think that the crucial point behind this is we look at the implications. Many of the Democratic Party supporters were concerned to the point where they probably now are thinking that actually they're going to have to accept that Trump is better placed as an individual to become president. And whilst I know that they will very much not like him as a person or his policies, but the concern was about Joe Biden himself. So there's some big decisions that have to be made. Joe Biden already went out on a rally saying that even though he wasn't that great in public debate, he was still in charge. He was the man making the policies. He was still able to run. The question is, of course, is there's wider implications here, not just because, if he were to actually become president, as in he won in November, he wouldn't actually fulfill that new term until January of 2025. We've then got another 4 years. So the question would be, is not just so much about the state of his mind today, is what will it look like in the future? There are some big calls that have got to be made, haven't they, Clergyman Pete? You've
Yes.
got the issues in Ukraine. You've got the economic situation within the Americas as it is today. There are many other political agendas that have to be sorted out. And whoever becomes president of the United States is somebody who has to be mentally fit and physically fit. So where do you think that actually we've almost seen that the decision is made that even Democrats may not actually vote for him?
Well, it's interesting that after the debate, a poll was taken by CNN, and they had, I believe it was a 37% thought that Joe Biden had won that debate. But that's that's a partisan crowd who were going to try and support him anyway. Only 37% thought it, and other polling, of course, showed a greater number of people thinking Trump had won the debate. That being the case, if once you go below 40% support, you're showing that even Democrats themselves have turned against him. That's right. And the question is, though, going forward, what do you do with him? Now, there, of course, are different criteria to determine whether or not you're president. Earlier, I said, well, if he's incompetent because of dementia or cognitive decline, let's put it like that, then surely he's unfit to be president as well. You can have a medical evaluation on that, and an external one maybe would help, rather than simply his own doctors. And then have a determination, make it public, because imagine that happened and it was determined that he was fit, then that would help them, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
But if it points out that he isn't, then they should remove it. But just finally, talking about the decisions need to be made. Now, I've never been in the position of being president of the United States of America.
I had noticed,
but I have, thankfully. But I have run small organisations, and I've appeared in front of cameras and things, and the stress is involved in that. But if you can't cope with those sort of stresses, then if you're trying to be president of the United States, making, as you say, these big decisions, then God help the United States of America, as they say. I think that the not being able to cope with stress of that level does, in fact, make you unfit.
Well, it does. But here's the thing. Immediately after the head-to-head debate, Californian Governor Gavin Newsom said he was very proud of the president. Now, Pennsylvanian Governor Josh Shapiro told Democrats to stop worrying. Now, here's the other thing, is it continued because Senator John Fetterman put it bluntly by saying, I refuse to join the Democratic vultures on Biden's shoulder. Now, the thing here is that we always know that there's going to be loyalty, and it's commendable in many ways. But here's the thing. That there are many people who are concerned not just about his age and his mental ability, but his performance. And I think when we get to policy, here's the other side to this. If Joe Biden does continue, if he does win the presidency and he continues with his second term, there are many people who are concerned that actually a lot of his policies are still not working. And that's the other side of this, isn't it? And I didn't really get a sense of that much in the head-to-head debate, other than on people's, golfing swings and handicaps.
Well, I did see that Trump was trying to point out the differences in their performance as president from a policy point of view. He was talking about their respective policies on the border, on international relations, and on the economy. He did actually hit all those points. Obviously, we remember the zingers and
of course
amusing moments, but obviously you want a president with a good golf swing. But it's but he did hit those points, but it gets overshadowed. I think Trump should. He did have had a bit of a victory lap at his rally afterwards, did Trump, but made a bit more fun of Biden. But just going forward, he really needs to double down on the policy differences.
I think so. Yes.
Particularly on Biden's performance as president because of what he's done. No,
yes.
Not, I mean, people will notice. He doesn't need to point out the fumbling and the bumbling and the falling off down the stairs, off the stage, can't find his way out. People will notice that anyway and say this is a buffoon. And the reason I think he wants to know that is that you want that decision made, the decision made on that basis. And Biden may well be removed. And it might not, maybe they'll find a mechanism to replace him. I don't think that there is one without his consent, unless they go down the 25th Amendment route. Fourth article of the 25th Amendment, was what I outlined earlier. There is a method if they really say he's not fit, but without that, they need his consent to do it. So I don't think they are going to replace him.
No.
But if I'm wrong, which has happened once or twice, unlikely. But if I'm wrong, then and they do replace him, you've got nothing to stand on. You've got to hit and hit and hit the policies. And the fortunate thing is, in terms of arguing for this case, those policies have been implemented and shown to fail.
Yeah.
The economy is in a terrible state. International relations have fallen apart. America's certainly not respected, not feared on the world stage anymore.
Yeah.
And that, from us in Britain, from our point of view, that's one of the main things, actually. It's an unsafe world under Biden and his policies. It was much safer under Trump and his policies. So it is partly to do with personality, but I think the personality and the character and the competence people will see. What you've got to major on is the actual policies. That's what I would say to Trump if he were to tune in and listen.
Well, indeed. I wonder what people are thinking right now. There's another debate to come. So, a second head-to-head, and I wonder how that will go. But what will be interesting to know is what do some of those Democratic supporters, those real loyalists, those who really like Joe Biden, what they're really thinking today.
Yes. Well, let us know.
Contact us.
Yeah, well, most of our listeners on this podcast are in America, just about the majority in America, although there are listeners around the world. Do get in touch with the show. Just go to markandpete.com and leave a message on this or on any episode, and we'd love to hear from you. But I guess that's it for this week. So for Mark and myself, it's goodbye. Catch you next time.